Am I the bad guy for refusing to do a paternity test? Me and my husband have two beautiful kids who are the best part of my life. I got pregnant with my first baby at 17 and moved in with my husband and his family at 18. My daughter looks a lot like me, and people have always commented on how similar we look. My mother-in-law has always supported me and has been such a huge help with the kids. I'm a half Asian. My father was Japanese and Korean mix, yet many people have no idea until I tell them I'm a white passing. I have always introduced myself as a European because I'm not in touch with my Asian heritage, and also because my father is not part of my life anymore and I don't like to talk about him. My mother-in-law knows this, and my race thankfully isn't important to her. However, as my daughter is getting older, it's getting very clear so it's part Asian. She has small sharp eyes and tan skin. Of course she's beautiful. Nothing about her looks worries us since we know there will be a chance her Asian genes will shine through. However, my mother-in-law has commented a few times that she might not be my husband's, as before him I always had a thing for Asian men. About a week ago, my mother-in-law made a large dinner and invited us over to eat. She sat our entire family down at the dining table and asked if we would be able to do a paternity test to find out about my daughter's heritage. I told my mother-in-law that she was part Korean, part Japanese, and part German, thinking nothing of it. But my mother-in-law asked me if I was sure, and then said my daughter looks too Chinese. I was shocked and asked my mother-in-law what she meant, and it was then my mother-in-law told me that she didn't think the baby was my husband's and that she wants to do a DNA test to make sure. She said this right in front of my daughter, who is smart enough to know what is going on, and immediately started asking questions. I was furious and called out my mother-in-law for being rude and embarrassing me, and then told her I has nothing to prove. And if she didn't think her granddaughter was hers, she didn't have to be in her life. My husband and I left straight away and have not contacted her since. But my father-in-law has been coming to our door telling us we overreacted, and if I will just take the test, they will be over it. But I feel that will affect my pride as not just a person, but as a wife and mother. So, am I the bad guy? Am I the bad guy for kicking out my sister-in-law for bringing meat into my home to feed her kids? I'm a vegan for my own personal ethical reasons. I have no problem with other people eating meat. I have been watching my nephews on the weekends for the last few months to help my brother out. Him and his wife work opposite schedules during the week and barely see each other. So the boys get dropped off with me on Friday night and get picked up Sunday night. I feed them on Saturday and up until an afternoon snack on Sunday. My brothers gives out some money to watch them, but I didn't really need it and usually end up spending in our outings for the three of us, like movies, the zoo, museums, that sort of stuff. I like being the fun aunt. I don't limit what the boys eat. If we are out somewhere and they want a burger or chicken nuggets, they get that. Well, their mom found out that the meals at my home were vegan and she had a problem with that. So she packed them snacks with meat, like jerky and pepperoni snacks and string cheese. I don't want that in my house, so I asked her to please not do that again. But she did, so I said that until she understood my very simple rules, I will not allow her in the house and I will not watch the kids. She thinks I'm being a bad guy because her children need meat, and that I should be grateful for the extra money I get from watching my nephews. Once again, I probably spend more on them every weekend that I get from my brother. My parents know how I feel about meat. They know I won't even got a dog or cat as a pet because they need meat in their diets. My brother has asked me to please go back to the way it was. I have no problem with that, but he has to control his women. So, am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for not inviting my mom to my wedding? My mom has never been the best mom. She's done unimaginable things to my siblings and I. She kicked me out when I was 16, struggling with mental health, and was in a really bad car accident that left me unable to walk for 6 months. She told me that I needed a reality check and to stop throwing a pity party for myself before I stepped foot in her house again. So I left and went to go live with my dad and my wonderful stepmom. They have sacrificed a lot to help me recover from my accident, and I'm truly grateful for everything they had done. I met my fiancé our sophomore year of high school, and we have been together ever since. He's a really great guy, and I can't wait to walk down to the aisle with him. He always treats my family and I with respect. He is always surprising me at work or with gifts, and has been my best friend for this past 5 years. I haven't really been in contact with my mom for a few years, except for birthdays and holidays. Even when I do visit her, it's always an argument, so I'll try my best to avoid her. I sent our wedding invites, and word got around to my mom, and she called me asking why she wasn't invited. I told her that I don't want to have someone that has never really helped me in life and has never really cared for me to be at my wedding. I've been getting calls from my grandparents for the past few weeks, telling me that I should be respectful to my real mother. So, am I the bad guy? Am I the bad guy for not taking my sister to a Taylor Swift with me? So, in case you don't know, the Eras Tour is happening. I've been a Taylor Swift fan since the beginning Tim Kirk came out. I was 11. With my best friend Ellie, we've been to every tour since Fearless. On November 15 of 2022, the whole Ticketmaster fiasco went down. We built a base of operation, and thanks to Goddess herself, we got 6 tickets for me, Ellie, my brother, her girlfriend's sister, and one of girlfriend's friend. Before this, my half-sister had very little interest in Taylor Swift. But after seeing the commotion for the fiasco, she got into it. And I, as an older shifty, showed her the way, so her and her best friend, who happens to be Ellie's cousin, are fans now. We tried to get them tickets for our show, but couldn't. The owner of the company I work for has some very good connections, and as an entity holds a lottery of sorts every month, and the winner gets 2 tickets to sports music major events the following month. Last November was the World Cup final in Qatar, and every January is the Super Bowl. The only requirement is seeing up that the winner has to go. You can give one, but not both tickets. I want 2 front row seats. I'm taking Allie with me, and I told my sister she and her friend can to go, and everyone was happy. Taylor comes next weekend. I can barely contain my excitement. I had dinner with my dad, sister, and stepmom this evening, and we were talking about the concert when my sister said, "I can't believe it's my first D's concert and I'm gonna be in front row." To which I was like, "What?" And she tells me like, I'm taking her with me with the tickets I won, and I clarified that Ellie's going with me. She goes, "But you said you were giving me the ticket." And I said, "The old one, just like Ellie's giving her to her cousin." She was not happy, saying I'm robbing her of an experience. I respond, "You're getting the TS concert experience, just not in the front row." My stepmom got mad at me for wanting to leave 2 teenagers on their own. I told her my brother is also going. He agreed to look out for him. Then she looked at my dad expectant, and he said something along the lines of, "I'm disappointed you're not taking the opportunity to share something you two love and use it to grow closer." Then my sister stormed off to her room, saying she can't believe I'm putting a lie over my own sister, and called me a big bad guy. I know, so am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for telling off a lady in the grocery store for talking to my wife and I? I don't want to get into all medical details involved, but for very quick context, my wife became suddenly hard of hearing in her early 20s, and about a year ago experienced another sudden and significant decline in hearing. It has now become much harder for her to interpret speech, even with hearing aids, and we decided to augment our communication by learning ASL, or rather, by learning some ASL and adopting it to suit her needs. By that, I mean we're not fully utilizing ASL grammar or using it as its own language, but instead I will speak to her and sign some of the words I'm saying or fingerspell. This helps her a lot. To be clear, she specifically wants me to speak to her because she can hear some and can combine that with my mouth movements and context clues. While we were at grocery store, I went trying to ask her opinion on something. We were having a bit of trouble communicating and trying speaking more clearly, but it was loud. I realized I didn't know all the signs for what I was trying to ask about, so I fingerspelled a lot of what I was saying. As I was doing so, we were approached by a woman who told me, "If you're trying to learn ASL, then don't speak at the same time." I didn't really know how to respond, so I just said, "I'm not trying, thank you." That's basically the truth. I'm not your problem anyway. She rolled her eyes at me and said something to the effect of, "It is parents like you that are leaving deaf youth isolated and starved for communication." Now I gotta admit, I was pissed. I didn't take a moment to calm myself being saying, "This is my wife, and you should leave us alone." The woman looked startled and ran off. A bit later, I noticed we were being followed around by store security. He's never approached us, just kept standing in all the aisles we were in for a while before leaving us alone. I was kind of creeping my wife out, making her feel like a shoplifter or something. It got me feeling kind of bad about yelling at the woman. She was only trying to be helpful after that. So am I the bad guy? Am I the bad guy for not letting my daughter stay at my mother-in-law's? Got into an argument with my wife this evening, and I've got to know where is the internet weighs in. Anyway, this afternoon we went to family gatherings with my wife's side for a few hours. We had planned that after this event we will spend the night at my brother-in-law's house in the next town. That being said, a couple minutes before we were to leave for brother-in-law's, my mother-in-law started whispering in my 6-year-old ear about how she should spend the night at her house instead. Never had anyone, though, to include me in the conversation about where my daughter will be spending the night. So, you know what I said when they finally brought it to me? As we were walking out the door, I said, "Nah, we can stick with the plans we're already made. She can stay with me, my wife, and her siblings." So my 6-year-old in tears because Daddy is the bad guy. My mother-in-law is snapping about how she never gets to see her grandkids, even though we just spent the afternoon together and we'd made plans to see her in the morning tomorrow too. And my wife is calling me rigid and inflexible, even though she also didn't like the idea because she didn't want to take the time to unpack my daughter's clothes and toothbrush and whatnot and to give them to mother-in-law when we were just trying to leave. And my son is crying because he doesn't like to hear disagreements. I will admit it, maybe it wasn't even about tonight. Maybe it was about the last time my mother-in-law came to our house. She invited her sister to join us for dinner without telling me or my wife. Or maybe it was about the Facebook post she made about my children. Or maybe it was about all those times my wife has been in tears on our ride from mother-in-law's house because she's been nitpicked to death about our parenting. Or maybe, just maybe, it was about all the anti-vax do-your-own research nonsense mother-in-law preached at us all pandemic long. Whatever the reason, tonight I said no, and it felt good. Said truth, I know this woman talks too much shit about me behind my back, and I know it because I walk in on it. A couple years I overheard her hissing that each time projects are fun started taking some responsibility for once. Keep in mind, I work full-time, change at least half the diapers, never miss a bedtime story, and I'm the only one standing between my children and tooth decay. Tonight my wife said I need to grow up and let go of these times I've been wrong because that's what healthy people will do. So what do you think? Am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for wanting to break up over my boyfriend going on a trip? Me and my boyfriend Alex have been together about 2 years. We live together right now in a essentially studio. with my 4 years old prior relationship and now 3 dogs currently. I recently found out I was expecting, which has been a roller coaster. This is important background info. On Wednesday, Alex told me his father was going to the coast for holiday. He stated he was not going as we had too much going on, and he just went out town last weekend to visit his brothers and mom. I expressed to him I wouldn't be comfortable alone and would prefer he stay too. The next day, he tells me he's going to go, and we can go to another trip next weekend. We argue because I lost my mom the day before Mother's Day and have been too busy to take a moment to grieve, and also because of finances and not being able to afford a trip while we are all saving to buy a house. We end up falling asleep early. The next day, he wakes me up at 7 a.m. and it's packing to leave. I tell him if he goes, that is a deal breaker, and I'll be moving out. Alex tell me I'm using my mom to guilt trip him into staying. The argument gets worse, and I'll just keep reiterating. I need more support right now. He works from Monday till Friday and basically just comes home to shower and sleep. He didn't even wish me a happy Mother's Day or spend time with me. Next weekend he's gone. This weekend he's gone too. And I'm expected to take care of 3 large dogs and a toddler while coping with the loss of my mother. His defense was his father's getting up in age. He's not that old, and basically my mom made him realize he might not have much time left. He keeps insisting I'm the bad guy for trying to make him stay, and I'm being selfish for not wanting him to spend time with his dad. I'm starting to second guess myself here, and I'm trying to explain this as neutrally as possible, but my emotions are high. So I'm not the bad guy for leaving my boyfriend for going on a trip when I ask for emotional support.